Madam Chair, we are live.
All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting today. Would like to excuse Mrs. Cherry, who's not able to be in person with us, but she is here with us via phone. We will start our meeting with a pledge of allegiance led by Mrs. Belknap.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The floor will be open for motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote. Mrs. Cherry?
Aye.
Mr. Cottle?
Aye.
Mr. Burtonshaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap?
Aye.
And I as well. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Nope.
Okay. We'll move on to our consent agenda. The floor will be open to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Cherry?
Aye.
Mr. Cottle?
Aye.
Mr. Burtonshaw?
Aye.
And Mrs. Belknap?
Aye.
And I as well. All right, we'll move on to our action items. There are no purchase or spending or surplus approvals needed, so we'll move on to 4.2 policy, second reading.
Oh my goodness.
I
I attached that one twice, didn't I?
Take the action.
It is, it's made. You want to go put that on there? So. Accidentally attached the policy twice. This is a policy that we started looking at in April. We reviewed it again in May. This was instruction advancement requirements for grades 7 through 9. The junior high teachers with Mr. Hall got together and we just talked about the different things that we went over. I'm not sure if anybody had anything else that came up, just kind of as a reminder, as Mrs. DeGraw is pulling that up there, and I'll refresh here in just a second. We wanted to focus on our core subject areas for the advancements for math, English, science, and social studies. And that students are required to pass those classes before they move on to the next grade level into high school. So our work for West Jefferson would be 8th grade, moving from 8th grade to 9th grade. And so if a student does have a failing grade in any of those, they will need to either retake the course or completion through district approved methods while they do advance to 9th grade is how we have that on that. So did anybody have any questions or further comments on that? Attention.
I didn't.
Pushing right now.
Okay, we should have that come up shortly. We're gonna watch that magically disappear here in just a second.
I just have to refresh everything.
Yeah,
The more attachments we get on there, the longer it takes to publish.
I put Mrs. Scott's attachments on there. That's probably the
You're good.
a lot to work on that. There it is. That was one that should have been on there. So there you go, Madam Chair.
All right, the floor will be open, or the floor is open for a motion to approve the proposed policies.
Madam Chair, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Mrs. Cherry?
Aye.
Mr. Cottle?
Aye.
Mr. Burtonshaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. On to 4.3, partnership with the Bank of Commerce.
And we have an exciting thing to bring to the board. Mrs. DeGraw and Mrs. Hall and myself met with members from the Bank of Commerce. They have we are requesting approval from the school board to enter into an agreement with the Bank of Commerce for a fundraising debit card program. This program allows the Bank of Commerce to issue a branded card. And basically, why we need the approval is that it does have our logo, mascot imagery and things on a debit card. But the Bank of Commerce will make an annual contribution to the district with a guaranteed minimal contribution of $1,000. However, if more people use this card, there's, I believe, a 5 cent per swipe amount that goes to the district. And so that could add up quickly, but those can be used for any supporting student activities such as athletics, academic programs, facilities improvements for the students, scholarships. It's really, they won't hold any, as long as it's being used towards students. That's what they have on that. A couple of the things that exciting with this one, this would just be the agreement that talks about 5 cents per transaction, a minimum of $1,000, so we don't lose at all. So when we sign up for this, we'll get $1,000 regardless of how many people sign up for it. I did request that I could be maybe the first one to get the card, but I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna go with that. Of course, pending board approval. Here were some ideas that we could have. These are ones that Mrs. Hall put together real quickly. Couple, some really cool different ones.
So the reason they can do this is because they're getting the capability of printing debit cards on site. They should just let us choose between those. They're all cool.
And maybe they will. I don't know.
We'll have to talk to them.
Well, it was really in the initial stages. This is not available yet at the bank. The first step is for us to approve it here, sign the agreement. They're looking to probably be August to September when this would come into play. Possibly we'll have a night with Bank of Commerce Field, at a football kickoff event. Tyson, you want to dress up in the Panther
Sure.
mascot, come in from a helicopter,
I like it.
stuff like that. So does the board have any questions for me? I think it's really straightforward, simple. There's really no strings attached for us except to allow them to use our imagery and logos.
It's a nice contribution that they're willing to do.
I wish it was just for us. They were joking around saying that West Jefferson is the
Favorite child.
the favorite child of Bank of Commerce because of the field. So that they have been having others say, hey, what about us? So this is going to be offered at other schools that have Bank of Commerce in there. So it won't be just us, but we can pretend it's just us.
Well, but if you have grandparents that live in Idaho Falls or somewhere else that has a Bank of Commerce.
Yeah.
They can get whichever logo they want. So if they want to do a West Jeff, they can still get it. at
Or
another
even-
branch.
Even if you have a child who's opening an account, a
Correct.
young adult who's getting a first-time debit card, this is something that might make them excited.
Well, and they swipe like, oh, I'll do $2 at the vending machine,
Yeah.
and that's 5 cents for us.
Yeah.
Right, so that's gonna be the challenge for those of you that have in-laws or parents that live maybe in Rigby or something that might support the Trojans to have the Panther debit card.
There you go.
No pressure.
None.
No pressure, Mrs. Rigby.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Floor is open for a motion to approve the Bank of Commerce School Fundraising Debit Card Program Agreement.
Madam Chair, so moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mrs. Cherry.
Aye.
Mr. Cottle.
Aye.
Mr. Burnshaw.
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. 4.4 alternative authorizations.
This next year, we have 2 teachers who will be required for us to put on an alternate authorization. This is a process that many districts, it's common for districts to have teachers on alternative authorizations. Through the state, we're in the process of having them submitted and looked at. The final process is just to have the board approve and be aware that this is something that the district is doing. Our two teachers would be Lori Baumforth and Chandra Day.
Are there any comments? Questions? Okay. Floor is open for a motion to approve the alternative authorizations for 2026-27.
Madam Chair, I so move.
There a second?
Second.
All right. Mrs. Cherry,
Aye.
Mr. Cottle,
Aye.
Mr. Burnshaw,
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Our last one under action items, 4.5 contracts.
So the extra day contracts that we approved extra day contracts last month, but we did not have the CTE information available at that time. We were doing a little bit more research into that. These will be the contracts for extra day. These are funded through the CTE program, and these will be the contracts that we will be offering for that.
Okay. Are there any comments? All right, the floor is open for a motion to approve the proposed 2026-27 CTE extra day contracts.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Cherry,
Aye.
Mr. Cottle,
Aye.
Mr. Burnshaw,
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. All right, now down to our informational discussion items, supplemental levy.
So, Madam Chair, if it would be possible, I have supplemental levy information in my superintendent report. If I'd like to address that during that time.
Okay.
And I can move on to 5.2. As a way of information to the board, our continuous improvement plan and strategic plan, there are some changes in the work with the state requirements for that. I would like to, in a special work meeting, go into more depth with the school board on our continuous improvement plan and what those changes are. Many of the things that we have in our previous continuous improvement plan were I don't want to say state mandated, but the state came in and said, this is what you have to have in there. They are creating more flexibility in the goals that districts are setting and changing some of the accountability measures with those. And so it's still pretty new for superintendents. We're in this transition stage. But I would like to take a work meeting, a special work meeting to go more in depth on that. And so just wanted to let you know that this is the month that we do that. We'll share a lot of our academic scores, but we'll talk about our goals, the mission and vision, and it will be a time for us if we want to adjust any of our goals. You'll see that on the superintendent report. When I talk about the 4 different district goals, those come from our strategic plan and continuous improvement plan.
Okay.
So
Policy review, should we move on to that? And
yeah,
then we'll-
I'm ready to move there
We
to
can
that
make
one.
our work meeting.
Yeah, time a little bit later, so.
Okay.
So policy, there's one policy that I do want to get in front of the board, as a chance to have a first reading, as our open enrollment procedures. This is our current policy that was put into place in November.
Yes.
I'm looking at Mrs. DeGraw to make sure I have my date correctly. And so this is a required policy as per the state, just to outline the different procedures that we follow when students are out of district and applying to become West Jefferson students. A lot of the different things that we have on here also recognize that we have different capacity levels per grade level. Now, the district may deny an open enrollment application for the following reasons. A school or grade or program has lack of available classroom space or staff, such as when the current enrollment is at or above the following. So these are the different levels that we have currently for our enrollment. And so if we have more than we actually need to adjust, Gary. I already see something that needs to be adjusted the Hamer 1 through
Oh,
4.
yes, we do.
So this is one that will need to be adjusted, and it needs to say 1 through 3. And I'd like to put 18 at each of those classes. With that, so that's gonna be one change that,
10P.
yep. Yep, 30, 10P, 1. So this one will say 1 through 3, and will have the capacity of 18. In Territon Elementary, these are the capacities, but again, those, if you remember our conversations about funding and how funding comes into play, that's where really we start to get funding for these classes, because this is enrollment, not attendance. If we had 25 kids in a 2nd through 3rd grade, more than likely we have 2 or 3 kids gone in a day, and so that our attendance goes down with funding. The other new addition that I'm proposing in this is to have a program included where it says a school grade or a program. I would like to propose that our special education departments have a capacity enrollment amount where we would look at when students who are outside of the district that may fall into special education, where we have a capacity cap on that. What this will help do is allow us to continue to provide high quality special education services to the students who are currently living within district. We would look at is students who are currently here from out of district in this program would be grandfathered in. So we're not looking to say, oh, we're gonna now kick you out because you have been coming. If a student has been coming in that program, they would maintain it. But what it does allow us to do is to help protect the quality of instruction and services that we are able to allow with the limited resources that we have as a small rural district. And that would be the only change to that. Mrs. DeGraw, was there any other ones that I'm missing as?
I'm gonna re-upload this so that we can see it in the right.
So we can at least have a visual with the 1 through 3 and the 18.
Yeah.
For Hamer. Do you guys have any thoughts or anything on this proposal?
I just had some changes and something that I think might need to be added in another area. It's
Okay.
so in this grounds for denial, you talk about the capacity. But in the first section where you said decision regarding application on the first page, then you've got those numbers. I wonder if capacity needs to be in there. It's talking about how the administration reviews and accepts or denies the open enrollment application. I think capacity could be listed there as well as information they're looking at. It looks like the information you have mostly listed as the records that the student is submitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're looking at the placement options, but I think maybe capacity should be listed there.
Yeah, but it's that spot, like
I
already.
found it.
Yeah,
So I've added it as a 9 on the list. So it's currently 1 to 8 on page 1.
page 1.
Page 1.
Yeah,
Leaving
sorry.
1.
Yeah.
You went through that really fast.
Do you have the student's secondary history? And then I've just added a number 9,
With capacity.
capacity.
Which actually makes more sense because we talk about capacity on the other class room anyway.
Any other correction?
If any other grade, yeah.
Yes, the first sentence, first page, under open enrollment procedures, right at the end, it says West Jefferson School District School, and I think it should be office. That's where the form is.
At
located.
any West Jefferson School District school.
So you're
Is
gonna have it at
available,
the
it's
school.
at any school and online.
Okay,
I wonder if we just change the open enrollment application forms are available online or at.
Or at.
and because it's not one or the other, they're both places, right?
Oh, yeah. And or. See.
You just say West Jefferson School.
At any West Jefferson school. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And then I just had a question underneath, so page 2. Because I don't know what this act is, so it's the second list.
Mhm.
After that, list number 5, that next paragraph, what is that Idaho Youth Rehabilitation Act or the Child Protection Act? Is an example of that like foster care? if a
Yes.
Child comes in, okay,
Yep.
I wanted to make sure I understood what that was.
Those are references that. Our legal team say we have to have it there.
Yeah, that makes sense, does, that was all I had.
Okay, let's get those updated right now.
Yep, I'm doing that right now. How about that? So there might be some grammatical things I changed between now and our work meeting or our special meeting.
I just saw one, it would,
Yeah.
it might sound better on that page 2.
Yeah.
The last list, number 1, parents must provide transportation, and I think it should say to school or to the nearest district bus stop. It might. I don't,
Let me look at it
yeah,
before our next meeting, but if it doesn't change the meaning or the content of the policy, it won't put us back at our first reading.
mhm.
So let me. Go ahead. Add it. Go ahead and put that up, refresh and put that up. I highlighted the changes in yellow.
Right. There we go. Addition. Capacity. And there we go.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, if there are any other comments between now and the next work meeting and things like that, we can discuss that, but I appreciate that, that feedback, especially the capacity part, that was the one that was that, so.
Okay.
All right.
Move on to the
Superintendent report, and Mrs. Scott just stepped out and she was gonna be the first one on the list for this.
Slip down here.
I can. I'm gonna slip down to the last one, community relations. I just want to give a report on the Hamer celebration for the district. Do we think we need to shut these windows as with that?
Yeah.
Got lawnmowers going outside. I got this one here.
You.
Ross coming in the window too. So last week, the Hamer celebration was on Friday the 3rd. That was a suggestion to have it on the 3rd so it didn't fall on the same night as like Manan or other big ones. I don't know what they're gonna do in the future because it's the decision makers of that, it's kind of shifted from the Lions Club. In years past, the Lions Club of Hamer has planned all portions of that, and the school just helped out by providing the facility. These last couple of years, it's kind of evolved into community members taking the reins on certain things and the school being asked to take things. And so how it's kind of been organized now is the community takes care of the parade and the fireworks setup. And then anything that's on school property, the school is going to take care of and organize. Um, and we've done the maintenance department did a ton of updates up there, making sure that the lawns and things were put into place. I know we did remove some trees up there that had some people questioning why some of the trees were coming down. Yeah, in a nutshell for the trees, I'll just address that really quick. The trees in the back, we took out all those really big old stumps. Those trees were cut down really short and started having a lot of little sprouts coming out of it, but the base of those trees were rotten and needed to come out. And it would have been a bigger headache in the future had those branches started getting big, then they're on a foundation that's not great. On the north side of the lawn, we did remove some smaller ash trees that were between the big Siberian elms. Partly because they weren't going to be in a spot where they could grow and flourish. They were in the shade a lot. And we also did see some disease. When we did cut those down, there was disease in some of those trees. And then when I say diseased trees, on the west side of that of the parking lot, we did remove quite a few dead and diseased pine trees. I think it looks really great. I think people watching the fireworks had a better view this year. And so it went really, really well. So with the district, we provided a fundraiser meal, and then we organized food vendors that were on school property. Some people ask, well, can we have food vendors in the future? The answer is yes, absolutely. That we asked our food vendors to donate towards the Panther Pride Activities and Enrichment Fund, and they were all very happy to do that. And so in the future, if there are more people that want to bring food vendors, go for it. Just call me up. We'll figure that out. And as long as you're willing to donate to the fund, all those proceeds, at least the donation from them will go towards the fund, and any of the things that we make with the fundraiser meal goes towards that. Huge thanks to our volunteers. We advertised to get volunteers. We sent out an email to all staff. And then I also sent a message to the high school coaches and to the group me. They're just asking for people to come and help support. We actually had to turn away some of our volunteers when they came and did that. So it was great. We covered $1,500. That's after we took out expenses. And so we felt like it was a good start for the first year for that.
So I just want to acknowledge Silo Sibs. They actually doubled the donation that we requested. And so I just wanted to tell them thank you for doing that for us.
Yeah, when I told Victor, he was asking, hey, so what are you asking? I said, we're asking $100 per vendor, which essentially sponsors one student's pay to play for one sport. That was kind of the goal that we were looking for from the vendors. And he said, you're asking for 100? Well, I'm going to double it. So that was really cool for Victor and Silo Sips. I know they've been really supportive of our school, and we appreciate them for that. It's always stressful when you're putting together a meal. I think Glenna, you're here in the audience, and you know what it's like when you're cooking for people. There's always going to be somebody that has an opinion one way. At least people kept if they had negative comments, they kept it to themselves. I didn't hear about it. I'll look to social media. Usually that's when they come out. But I had people specifically say, thank you for putting this on. Thank you for coming there and doing that. We had several coaches that showed up. Coach Goodyear from the wrestling program and Coach Hall from the football program. They showed up. And me saying this, if you're listening, I'm not calling anybody out. And also Coach Smuin from the cross country. I'm not calling anybody out for not, because I get it. It's the 4th of July. It's busy. There's lots of times that there's gonna be other times for it. But I just wanted to say thank you to those coaches. We had a lot of the different individuals coming in and helping with that. Of course, the office staff, Carrie, thank you for putting a lot of that together. Julie and Corey were great.
Your whole family helped, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, families. I know Coach Dixon's not a high school coach anymore, but she does do junior high stuff, and she was there helping. So we recognize that there were birthday parties and other things going on, so it's all right. So more than likely there'll probably be a time that this Panther Pride Activities and Enrichment Fund will help out with a concession stand eventually throughout the year, but we'll probably continue just to keep going into that. One of the things that I have not advertised, which I will in future superintendent reports, is how kids can get access to this. And so I am going to have it's a Google survey, is a form, Google form, which is basically a survey or a QR code or that coaches and students can either anonymously ask for this. So if a coach has a student or if a student wants to be considered, they can anonymously put that recommendation in. That recommendation will come directly to me as superintendent, and we'll be able to house those funds here at the district office and be able to take care of that. So it will be kept confidential for people because sometimes those that need help have a hard time asking for it. So Mrs. Scott's back in here. I'm going to jump back up to number 1. Mrs. Scott, we have high school accreditation. I know we've talked about it. It was finished, but you got the final report. I'm going to ask you to report on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about student handbook.
Well, if you go to the link, you can read the whole 37 page.
We're not going to do that right now. So no,
Interesting read.
later on, but not for the sake of today's meeting.
Now,
So-
if you scroll down just a little bit.
Yeah, just tell me.
The scores. I should have had the exact page number. Keep going. It'll keep going. It'll have our areas, like our strengths and our score. I think it's right after.
After this,
Yeah, go just a little. Actually, it might be more towards the end.
uh-oh.
Go to the bottom.
You are going to make us go through all 37.
So those are all the standards we had to evaluate and provide evidence for. So there was 31 standards and we had to have file folders of evidence. That was quite a gathering project, but the goal is to just keep doing a little bit each year. And you'll see we got 3s and 4s, which 3 is to be proficient in. 4.
Here's a 4. Standard 29, understanding learners' needs and interests.
And so we have to show evidence that we're doing that, but, so this is a summary of the person who ran ours, Galen Schmeier. And he was really so helpful to work with. So it'll show like noteworthy practices and it shows the standards. And then it gives us areas for improvement. And so accreditation has changed a little bit. And he gave me some advice that like, look at your 2 areas that we said, and one of them is just evidence from our stakeholders, which is our students, our teachers, and our community. And last year we did run surveys for all of them, but so my goal is we continue to do that. So at registration, we'll have the survey available for parents to take. And then I had teachers do the student one, and then I have teachers take it too. And they have a database where they keep that information so that the next time we do it, we can compare, and it shows, yeah, we're looking at what our stakeholders are telling us based on these surveys, but we only had 1 to go from. And so that one's going to be pretty easy to address. And then this tells us where our score was and where we fall. And then, yeah, we have to, he said, keep really good notes of the 2 areas because they will revisit you in like 2 to 3 years and ask you what you're doing for the 2 that were recommended to improve on. But I felt really good about it and we are accredited.
So if we're looking at that, the average network is 297 and we scored a 320. I think you mentioned the one time that it's more like an A minus to a B plus,
Well, if you look at the list,
where further down?
the accredited with, yeah, well, no, right there where you're at, accredited with distinction.
Oh,
So
the
we-
bottom.
Yeah, that's our A. So that's what we'll shoot for next time, but I am pleased with how we did, considering we didn't have. Like, it was a year start, and now our goal is that we continue to build. We don't just stop and then do it for that year, so that it won't be so much, cause it was a lot. Like, I am so appreciative of the teachers who. Like, helped anytime I'd asked, like I sent out like weekly in my week at a glance, like, hey, here's the standards we're looking at. Can you please help add evidence to folders? And they were really great to do that. Our office staff, Mr. Gumar and Mrs. Mays, and then obviously the district, like anytime we'd ask, they gave us the stuff that we needed. So it was really helpful and had good help from the gentleman at Cognia. So yeah, it's quite a process, but I'm glad we can breathe a little easier for, so.
So the two areas that establish and monitor conditions to formally consistently engage stakeholders, that would be like your surveys.
Students, teachers, and community, parents, more than likely, and then what are you doing with the information that you get? And then the other one, is to continue, assessment tools, and so with our PLC stuff, I feel like we're doing a better job at. Like, our math program probably exemplifies this the best. Assessment tools that go from 9 through 12, and they are very collaborative, but I think our PLC process has really helped.
Yeah.
That, we just need more evidence of what that looks like.
Do you remember off the top of your head, or is this right here? Standard 2, 4, and 8, are they all right there?
That's just his summary.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, your hard work on that. Any questions or comments from the board?
Make sure you read that interest. Actually, if you want to read anything, I think that part, so the part right there is, no, keep going down. That show, no, down to the bottom.
I'll go back where I was.
His write-up
Summary.
when
Okay,
he conducted it. Before the scores, he has a write-up, so
in there.
in that big write-up, that's where he actually talked to, so he talked to our parents, he talked to our students, he talked to teachers, our leadership team, the board. And he does kind of a review in those different areas, and it has some of the comments from our community, students and teachers that helped him have insights into what we're doing as well. That review gives a pretty good overview, and it's only a couple of pages.
perfect. All right, so that's under goal number 1, the high school accreditation. I do want to talk about the student handbook and some procedural changes that we are proposing to put into the handbook. Just as a reminder, Emily, this is your first time through that, so the student handbook is not policy, so the board does not vote on it, but we do seek feedback from the board in creating that. And so some of the procedural changes that we are looking at in the handbook, the 3 main bullets that jumped out to me, and Mrs. Scott, if you have anything else, attendance and detention, those are some things that we had discussed to be more clear and strengthen our work release on what we've allowed in the past for work release. And then IDLA and online situations. We know that IDLA was cut funding wise quite a bit, and so we're looking at ways to improve that. But also the Idaho Department of Education has come out with different guidelines for online schools and what can and how that should be used. And so the board did approve in May for us to create an online school. That has been already submitted to the state, and the state sent us back and said, congratulations, you have a school number. So we have a school number in Power School. We can start putting kids into that school once we have the framework put into place. So let me just pull up the draft. I do have this draft discussion. This is not finalized right now. So anybody at home that's pulling this up, that's looking at that, I don't want you in 6 months to go back to this discussion and say, wait a minute, didn't say this in the handbook. The handbook's not a final group of laws. It's just procedures that govern the school,
And it's a living
and
document.
it is.
We also added in those new things from the state with the moment of silence and then the bullying and social media stuff.
Yep.
So those are some new things that were added in. as well.
Which in our next board meeting, our next work meeting, we will be discussing policies to also help match that. So nothing in here is gonna supersede policy. Christy, there's a lot to go through here to digest, but I don't, with the sake of the board, what's new, and I kind of highlighted this already, IDLA, and here's some, we still want students to be encouraged to take IDLA courses. IDLA will primarily be used for dual credit opportunities, and that's because of the funding. If they use it for dual credit, students are still allowed to use their opportunity money for that. And also use IDLA for courses not available on campus. 9th and 10th grade students will have limited access, while junior and seniors will also work with the counseling office to ensure that IDLA supports their graduation and career goals. We do want all learning with IDLA to be on campus. The only difference with this, because I think what we need to do is come up with an online student handbook that's different than this. Students that want to be at home need to be enrolled in West Jefferson Online and have that be separate from this. Attendance and on-campus learning. Students taking college coursework or approved alternative programs are expected to remain engaged with the school community and generally attend West Jefferson for at least 4 instructional hours a day. That excludes seminary. So if you're a student attending seminary, that's 5, that'd be 5 out of 7 days. So then what that comes down to is work release is available only for juniors and seniors and is limited to the final periods of the school day. So I guess if you're a student, Mrs. Scott, just to clarify what this looks like, I'm a student who does not attend seminary. I could attend my 4 classes early in the morning and then could apply for work release in the afternoon, but it has to be verified through through an employer. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? And so, and board members, if you guys have different ideas on this one, this is kind of where we've talked about that. But if you're a student who is attending seminary, you would really only be eligible for the last 2 hours of day for work release, according to what we're proposing.
The goal is to bring our kids back. I feel like they leave soon enough anyway, and we experimented with some things, and I get like, there's been changes at the state that are helping support that, and I'm glad. But we're already small in numbers, and when you get 20-30 kids not coming, especially our kids who are supposed to be the leaders of our school, like our juniors and seniors, it makes a difference in the school. And so that's been my big goal. I also feel like the rigor and what they're getting in the classroom, and some people might disagree. I hear all kinds of things about our classrooms, but I also am in the teachers' classrooms a lot, and they're doing good things. Is there a time where maybe there was a little bit of waste of time? Yeah, but it's not the same amount that they're wasting with IDLA. So our goal is to really look at like, why are you taking the class? And we want to support our kids who are trying to get their associates. I think that's so cool, and also get some college credit. But we also offer a lot at our school, and I worry about kids isolating themselves in this day and age. Online learning is a great tool, but I think you have to be a pretty strong learner to utilize it to its fullest. And we do worry about the monitoring, because even IDLA is admitting that a lot of kids are just using AI to do their work and get it done very quickly. We've had some problems with that as well. So we're trying to alleviate some of that so that learning is real and legitimate, and that kids see the value in that. And I feel like some of the things we tried have taken that away. And I tried throughout the book to explain that, and we're asking for parent support, like I know we I feel like we gave them some rein length and we're trying to pull the reins back in a little bit. And I don't think that's a bad thing for our kids. But to create an environment where kids wanna be here is so.
And speaking towards the work release, one reason, a huge reason, one of the main reasons why a lot of kids were taking work release that graduated this last year, those were students who were in the transition between trimesters and semesters.
That kids were getting a lot of credits. We were up to 60 credits. We're now down to 46. Another thing with bringing kids back is we want to fill our electives. We have great elective teachers, and when we allow kids to do this to an excess, I think we have to stop and evaluate, like, these kids are going to be working the rest of their life. So potentially there are some kids who could get a work release for 4 hours of the day, but is that what's best for their education at the moment? And I think we have to kind of take a stand on that. And say, no, that's not what's best for them right now. They're gonna work the rest of their life. So let's try to give them a broader education where they have to go and try some electives that maybe they've never tried before. I know there were some that I didn't, and it did enrich me. And I think we're just asking for some support with that, because it's gonna feel a little rough for some kids who are thinking they get to do kind of what we've done, but I'm glad the state's also seeing the same thing and trying to pull the reins back in on that.
So as I go through just some areas to highlight, Mrs. Scott, you can guide me to different areas in the handbook. And again, there's some things that we are still waiting, like to fill in.
So that's kind of
New this year, Mrs. Scott put in some visuals.
I feel like it's a quick way to get a lot of information quickly, but then underneath it's written out more in depth. I think oftentimes people want to just glance quickly and look at something and then get an overview. And then when they need more depth, they can go down and read. So that's kind of a summary of what we just talked about, to bring kids back. But there's more throughout the handbook that I've done when it involved a little bit more explanation. So we worked on behavior matrices in our PLC groups last year. So that's in there, of expectations that we have for kids, and it's done as an infographic as well.
Okay.
And you guys will get this shared with you, so you'll be able to look at all of this. It hasn't been shared yet, that I know of, but for me, it's pretty much done unless there's suggestions for improvement. And then we have a few sports schedules that we're still, so it's the wrestling, and then spring sports we don't get until mid-year, so that will be updated.
Okay.
But I think they probably need to look at attendance, because that involves them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one, and we can again change this, but this would just be, I'm getting there.
So that's the behavior matrix that our PLC groups worked on, that kind of fits with respectful, responsible, ready in different places, and what it looks like for our kids. Because for a while it was just words, and we kind of took that, because we do see some of that includes parking lots. It includes, like, we had kids who were constantly doing cookies in our parking lot that our maintenance staff kept having to repave the gravel. So to really think about our campus and our classrooms and to leave it better. So that was added in based on what the teachers created in the PLC thing. So you can look at that. And then I think attendance is coming, so.
There it is. So this is one where I think our attendance procedures in the last few years have I know they were affected greatly by COVID. I'm looking back as my time as superintendent coming in my first year, COVID came into place, and we were trying to figure out our best way to be helpful and flexible and caring and kind and compassionate. There's two things that are certain. One thing is attendance does matter for academics. If you're not here, you miss out. And when you're not here, it disrupts the flow of our teachers and the rest of the kids in the class. Second off, attendance drives our funding. Like those are two main things that you have with that. And so in past years, we've had the flexibility with kids saying, oh, you're missing a lot of classes. We don't want you to lose credit because we want to help you get past your class. And we set up detention times, which created a lot of issues for us. Each student has an individualized situation around why they missed. And as administrators, at times we try to look at those individual things. And when we're had individual issues, it made it really difficult for us to show everybody else that, hey, we're trying to be as consistent as possible without having to share every student's individual situation. And because of that, there were different allegations that came out from kids saying, oh, the administration is not being consistent. The administration is taking bribes. The administration is letting students or other staff decide what it looks like on the hours. And it really created an issue. I want to create more of a line in the sand saying this is what it is and this is what happens when you don't. So I know we have 5 to 7 absences. I think it needs to be more clear on that. It's clear cut. Tell me a little bit more what you were thinking here, Christy, and I'm wondering about 7
Well,
absences to
it
be.
takes a long time to update and get a good idea. So just having a little bit of time to be able to do those things in that middle one where we notify a parent. So like at 5, our attendance person should be notifying a parent. To have an attendance review and talk to a kid, like we get big lists, and to try to pull kids from classes that are already missing, to try to talk to them. So to me, it was kind of some buy time of let's make sure we're trying to catch it earlier so they're aware before they get to the red. And I thought eight attendances, 8 when it gets to the red is it's 2 weeks of school. And so I think like teachers get 9 a year plus 3 personal days, that's 12 all year. I think again, it's this idea that what we do with attendance, we're teaching, are you going to show up for your life? These kids are getting to the point of like, I'm going to have a job. Can I show up for my job? School sets that track, like, and I think we do need to crack down a little bit, but it gives us time to try to address it before it gets to the red. That's why I put that 5 to 7 and it's not specific, because that process takes some time. Like to hear from my attendance person, a kid might have already missed 2 days before I have an accurate count. And that'll give kind of a window so that we can address it quickly. And you know, Mr. Guimard devised, and I'm hopeful when I give him this, he can devise another system that Power School will do it for us more quickly. And that means we're probably going to be running reports almost daily then. And that's a lot. And so that gives us a window with those dashes on the 5 to 7. Like, I don't want kids to miss that much. But we know from past history they will. And I think cracking down at 8 will be helpful. But even that requires steps. So I could have a kid miss 8 in their English class first hour because they don't get up in the morning. And then they've missed 7th hour too because they like to go home. And that could happen at a different time. So that process is going to be like, this is going to be a consuming job, but I'm hopeful we can get some computer program that will connect to what we've done, because it started doing it for detention for us, which was nice. Kids could see it, parents could see it. And so once this comes in, they'll be able to see it, and hopefully we can have the computer take some of that lag time. But that was really why I put the 5 to 7. And I know you wanted 7 to be the cutoff, but if you look at what we're going to try to do to help them, we just need a little bit of time to be able to help them.
So if I'm looking at this, if you have a parent notification,
That could go out as hopefully an automated email. Hopefully, like we have some things that are doing that right now in Power School, telling them about detention time and their kids missing. But even getting parents to buy in, like sign up and make sure you have Power School on your phone so they're getting those notifications.
all right, so I'm going to push back just a little bit since we're talking I know, I see what you're saying, that we have to have that communication in place. Um, and this,
And
and,
sometimes even getting the right notes. Like sometimes those absences drop off when we get medical notes,
mhm.
but they were either supposed to fax it and they didn't, and so tracking that down, just there's a little bit of lag time, and so that helps us. Cause sometimes kids would get detention and as soon as a medical note would come in, the computer would drop it. But that took our attendance person and we had a really good one. And they're not gonna be here. And that took some time even for them. So that's why. And I know, I guess we can skip that middle part and not do the like talk to the kid and say,
No, I think
Can
we
we
do.
have the graphic on the top, the more eye-catching one, just say 5 and not have the -7, but at the bottom show the steps, what's happening between 5 and 8? Cause I think having between 5 and 7 is like, oh, I could
That's
go to
right.
7 and then it would be okay. You know what I mean? So I understand your lag time, but it's that eye-catching, where's the line? We want the line to be 5.
Okay, so just one
You
number. So
enter, yeah,
do I say 4 in the green zone, 5 and then 8?
I think so.
Okay, I can fix that.
I don't know, what do you?
I agree.
That's what I'm thinking, and that's probably, I think you just articulated my pushback on that, because I don't want kids to go like, oh, I get to miss this many, because yes, our teachers and staff do have personal days and sick days. But we all, especially those of you that have employees, do you want an employee burning through every little bit they can, or do you want them to have the approach of, I only need to use this when I need to? Like there's a little bit, and each organization has different types of employees. You have some,
But we're asking kids to come for 140 some odd days.
144.
That's not even half of a year.
yeah,
Like you can show up for half of a year at school. But we're gonna need buy-in because a lot of people
well,
vacations, they take
that's the
3
thing
weeks,
is,
4 weeks, like it. I don't know. I just grew up in very different that your job was to be at school. That was my job when I grew up. And after I left school, I think I had pretty good attendance at my job.
so this is where it's gonna be different from the detention that we had in the past. If we look over here on this other side, like, so when the absences hit 8, that means they're above the amount. And again, we didn't mention this. This state law says that there's a 90% requirement for kids to be in school with that. And so for them to do that, they need to figure out a way to make up the learning time lost. And we do have academic programs that can track, that we can assign assignments to the kids that they have to on their own time. We're not having a Saturday school. We're not having a detention on Fridays. We do always have Mrs. Bell, who is here before school and after school for tutoring. If a kid wanted to utilize that time to work on their academic tasks that they missed, they will have to make up that academic time. And so then we're getting more of a like 1-to-1. You miss academics, you have to make up academics to be able to do that. But what that doesn't do, this is going to be something that we're going to have to look at, Mrs. Scott. If they, let's say it's early in the semester and I miss it, they still have that absence counted towards them. But we have to somehow keep track of that, because I don't want them to think, oh, now I can go back and work those off, and now I can miss 2 more days because I've recouped those.
After we talked, I put a 2-week time limit on it.
Good.
And even extended, so like if they end up missing
I like
towards
that.
the end of the semester, once grades and all that, they'll have that 2-week time limit, just like a grade can. It's called an incomplete. And with a grade, if someone misses or was behind and the teacher wants to grant that. So I did put a 2-week time limit. I actually also developed a form and I feel really bad because it's sitting on my table at home. I was gonna bring that and show you, but there is a form.
I like that.
There's a form that they would fill out where it says complete an attendance plan sheet. And so it'll show, but it's gonna be very student driven, so I'm trying to figure out like, do we just keep those in the hallway? Does the kid have to go get it? And again, I'm hopeful, I did send this to Mr. Geemer last night with hopefully the intention of once you thought about it and said, what you want changed, how can we flag this in Power School?
So with this as well, this is where the board does come into play. After meeting with the administrator, this is ones that we've had these types of plans in place last year. But then the board didn't hear about it unless there was an extenuating circumstance. I want kids to know and parents that we're serious about having them be here. And not say that the board has like is approving it or not, but basically they need to come and they need to present in an executive session to the board their plan, which would give the board a chance to ask these students, what are you doing to do better? Why it's important. And so you guys are not administrators, but you are community members who are highly vested in the success of them and our school for that. If the student doesn't meet the 2-week requirement or whatever we're saying on it, I am recommending that they just lose credit. And they have to make it up through IDLA or some other time, or retake the class. So teeth are coming into play and we want to have some accountability for that. Other suggestions, Christy, or thoughts, or maybe you want to say, no, I don't like it. Let's go back to the
What about tardies?
tardies.
It's in there, scroll down. It's not on that. It's-
So are we-
Oh, there it is, sorry.
Are we gonna have tardies go in towards this?
So you mentioned that tardies could still be detention. But
I
it's
think
gonna
so.
have to just be with Mrs. Bell. We don't typically get a lot of kids, there's a few, sorry, the pause covering it, I'll fix
That's
it.
because we're trying to move.
Yeah,
I
I was
can't
trying to
move it
read
on the PDF.
But if you notice, if you scroll down, it is explained in writing, that's not on the infographic, so everything that's there, then we explain. I think it's important to have it both ways, so that it's written out. And then if they wanna read more about it, they can go read more about it. So there's the tardy right there.
So tardies will be detention. And, you know, one of the things in our conversation yesterday, can I mention this, Christy, with the locking of the doors? Like, we could have our teachers, when class starts, they lock the doors.
It's a teacher's suggestion that the doors get locked. They said Mr. Bird used to do that and make them go check in at the office. My only concern is, and we've made that easy, but Mrs. Mays typically has to sign a note, which will, and maybe it'll stop. I just don't want to overwhelm her. Cause she's busy. But maybe it'll stop after they have to keep coming to do it. And I also worry because then that is more class time they're missing. So I don't know. I think it's a good suggestion and we can try it and see. And just be more vigilant of being out in the hall and telling kids to go class and get to class. But one thing that's the problem is we have a 3-minute passing time. Most teachers know the kids are trying their hardest to get there, but they'll come in and leave their bag and then they need to use the restroom because there's just not time in the 3-minute passing time. There's just not. So that's where it's kind of hard with the tardy.
I'm more thinking
They show
first hour of the
Yes.
day.
Yes, and we had some kids that abuse that really bad, and they do have to check in, those kids
Yeah.
do have to check in.
Those were things in the past, the first
Or
hour
maybe-
and then 5th hour after lunch.
Yeah,
The first and fifth are probably our worst, because they're not here.
yeah, like the passing time sounds like you guys have got it under control, cause.
Yeah.
You can't hold your.
And
not
for the
do
most
the
part,
right
kids are
quick
pretty
enough.
good, and if they have to stay with the teacher, we usually have the teacher send a note so that the teacher doesn't work them. But we do have some habitually truant kids, and I'm intrigued because I know it's under the age of 16, which would be potentially some sophomores and freshmen, can get reported for truancy legally. They're supposed to be in school. And we don't push that a lot.
That's a difficult one because you have a state law that was made. Basically, they're saying, if we make this law, somehow magically you're gonna make all these parents get on board with it. But is that us? Is that the resource officer? You know, and then you're thinking, okay, now the resource officers, a lot of these kids that are in that situation, are struggling students anyway that need relationship building. They need build relationships with the adults in their lives, not have every single adult at the school, including the resource officer, have to be the parent for the kid.
You also have the fact that if they don't wanna make their kids come to school, they'll homeschool them, and then we lose them as students.
Yeah, we got a lot of this. I think we need to draw a line in the sand, say this is what we need to do, get here, but we can't fix everything all the way down in every situation.
And we did try to incentivize too, like to reward kids who came. I was pretty shocked. I normally do that at the end of the year, and this year we were only able to give out 2 attendance awards. That had less than like 3 or less days. 2 awards for the whole year. The year before we had more. I was pretty surprised.
Can I ask a question? If you scroll up on that infographic for the red zone, it says the attendance plan sheet. Can you said you didn't have it here with you, and that's fine. I'm asking more about procedure. Behind that, is in the yellow zone, there's parent notification and a student conference. Is there another conference of some kind in the red zone that
They'll give-
incorporates that sheet? Okay.
So if a student is participating in athletics,
Hmm.
how does that impact them? Are we waiting until
You
someone
want-
reaches the red zone before we say something?
Shane was welding the hammer
I
yesterday.
was, maybe I was a little bit mean. I think as soon as they hit the red zone, they're ineligible.
So are we saying something as part of the yellow zone that, are we notifying coaches that, hey,
Do you
your
have that?
student, your student athlete is at risk of
So
becoming
our
ineligible?
parents already know that if they had 10 hours of detention or more, they were ineligible. So it'll just be a shift from detention hours to days missed.
Okay.
So they already kind of know that.
This should actually be more clear to coaches.
Grades and attendance that feel like we punish, like we want kids to be in extracurricular, but we punish them more severe than we do the kids who don't, and I get that. But I also think like you get to leave school a lot for extracurricular. And so there's a responsibility to be here when you're not leaving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it seems like it will be a lot of work to track, especially as they make up their seat time. Anyway, so somehow in that system, it's gotta be like, okay, here's the 8 days that they've made up, but they can't miss any more. If they miss more, then we have to do that process again,
Yeah.
right? And then, who decides where does the plus end? Does that, you know what I mean? Like, is it 20 days? Is it 10 days on the top end of that red where you lose your credit?
You know, if I think there's extenuating circumstances when we start getting to those levels. If there's a medical issue, that's not falling under here.
That wouldn't get you,
Yeah,
because that's covered with a note.
So these are the absences that aren't a doctor's appointment.
These are,
to
I
miss.
stayed home sick because that's what these days are built for.
Okay,
These are
that
family planned a weekend trip and I had to miss Thursday. Like,
okay.
if you plan, like, there's still ways you can get more time in for those kind of things, but
But even in a semester, let's say a family wants to take the entire week off. That's 0 to 4 days.
Yeah.
Because they
It's
shouldn't
still
have,
green.
they should still be in the green. What's happening is we have parents that are going, oh, I'm gonna take a mental health day. And I really did just do the little fingers up, in quotes, but they didn't go to a doctor, so they don't have a doctor's note. That's not excused. And then they're like, they do that 3 or 4 times in the semester. I'm just really tired. I don't want to do this. And then they go, oh, and by the way, we are going on a trip for all week. We have a cruise. That puts them into the red automatically. And like parents need to plan with that. If they're gonna have, I'm not saying they can't take their kids out because they're the parents, but we also can't say, yes, because you're the parents, take them out and we're gonna bend over backwards to help everything you can to keep your credit. You can't do both. But I heard you say something about, what if they like come in with a plan and they've missed 8 days and then they're going like, I'm gonna miss another one. I'm gonna miss another one. What will happen is, I guess we'll just add that. They'll have the 2 week period. If the 2 week period is gone, credits taken away. I think,
The 2 week period to make up the academic seat time.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, as soon as that plan is in place, they have 2 weeks to make up the academic seat time. If it's not made up with that, then they miss credit. Does that sound harsh? Are we too harsh, you guys?
No, I think we
Janice, you just came
more
in.
accountable.
You caught me on a harsh moment.
She's from the city.
And
No.
this isn't, yes, funding is always based off of this, which makes it sound bad because people can take this and say, oh, superintendent, you're only worried about funding, you don't care about the kids. No, it is like anybody who's been in a classroom to see when kids miss instruction, it slows everything down. And then the teacher, they're not getting paid extra to have to come back and put this stuff on. This is extra stuff that we're doing. That's one of the arguments that we have towards not having funding connected to it, because we're worried about the academics and people just throw the funding back in our face. Like, you can't win either way on it.
They miss. That increases their risk of all sorts of things, you know, they're probably the more they miss, there's higher risk in their life already.
Yeah.
And so we want to do what we can to help facilitate their success.
Yep. So that's a good discussion on the attendance. We highlighted the other ones. Is there anything else, Christy, that you want to?
I think attendance was the big one. We talked about ideally stuff. But there are a few more cool infographics in there that kind of help.
Let me
We did-
show you the infographics.
And we did the bullying one, we did the.
Yeah.
I like the infographics.
So in a future board meeting, also though, when we need to start fine tuning online options. Again, we're not talking online, but I just wanted to bring that up where we have state required for in-person graduation. We might want to consider, do we want to only have state required for our online and not have West Jefferson required? Just planting that seed. We'll talk about that in a future meeting. Let's find some infographics. There's one.
That's just the homeschool.
Students who have been homeschooled coming back in. Senior project infograph.
There's one for the athletes, so that's where it talks. So when you said to the coaches, no, the coaches will get a handbook that has the attendance expectations now too. And we added in the behavior expectation with the social media law that you sent to me, so
Okay.
that should be there.
So there was a new law that did basically expand the scope of schools. If a student posts something on social media against a teacher, other student, other things that
An employee.
An
in the
employee.
district.
in the past it was difficult because we were trying to figure out where's our realm of responsibility. And if it was happening on a Friday, or excuse me, on a Sunday when there's no school or anything like that, it comes out, where does the First Amendment freedom of speech for the student go? Now it's saying that I need to bring up the law because it says if it's reported to an employee or a school board member, then there's a, don't you love it when they write school board members in there, that there's an investigation that needs to be looked at. So if that happens, of course, you bring it to my attention. I will ask, either myself or administrator will investigate it. But that's for any student, but for athletes who post negative, inappropriate, or disrespectful comments or content about coaches, teammates, or other students, the school, or the program on social media will be ineligible to participate in practices and games until they meet with their coach and administration. A plan will be created to address the behavior and must be followed before eligibility is reinstated. So basically, we are holding our athletes to a higher expectation. Which I still stand, even with attendance and with grades, I still feel like they should. So did you have the attendance? Here's the attendance one. I don't know if I want to say no more than 8 on this one. I think it needs to be clear cut. Student athletes must meet the West Jefferson attendance requirements of no more than 8 absences per semester. Once a student reaches 8 absences, I think that's okay.
7 days is 90%.
That's why we kept going to the 7.
Yeah, cause it's 90%.
I think the red needs to be 7.
And 90% on quarters is 3 days.
And so that's aligned to state law. Isn't it? You're an English teacher, Christy, not a math teacher.
Well, I know the math, I know it was a little more generous, I'm just hopeful your kids don't get that high, but you're taking a plan that we were letting them miss a lot more than that, and maybe we try it this year with what we have and then get better.
Well,
I don't know.
but our plan doesn't meet the 90%.
I think though that for parents
People don't
looking
go
at
to
it,
the extremes.
for parents looking at it, they're not looking at total days of percentages, they're looking at weeks.
Yeah.
And so 8 translates.
And parents also don't look at it per class period,
No, they don't.
because I missed first and second period, but I came. Technically, you have missed that attendance day of that period. That's a great point.
That's why I said this is gonna be a lot of like, it's gonna be tons when you're talking about the paperwork. So that's also why the 8 and the 7 were helpful, because it gives us some time to process all that.
Well, we have that application open for people that want to take that on. So anybody listening that wants to help us tackle this, well, they got to know what's going on though,
Yeah,
because that's,
I know.
I
I
think
think
that,
moving though to absences versus doing the detention hours actually will reduce the amount of paperwork and stuff that you're dealing with.
Actually, Mr. Huber made detention so much easier, but I'm hopeful he can work his magic on this.
all right, so it looks like we do need to put this at 7. Because 6 is the, yeah,
So you're saying the state law says what about 90%?
You lose credit if you've missed more than 90% of the school days.
I'll have to pull that up. It's a,
See if I can-
it says that the attendance should be at 90%.
District, right?
No, for a
the
student,
Student.
not for the district,
How have we been handling it in the past?
with
The detention.
the detention, which came about because flexibility during COVID. And
So
different things.
why is this different at 8 days? Because it's not called detention, but we're, what's the word, making up the seat time.
But
So-
unfortunately, you're not gonna get funded for it, you're just helping a student get
Well,
caught up in
yep.
their learning.
You're not getting funded for it. You're just helping a student
For that,
get credit.
right?
Yep, that's the.
How are those talks of open enrollment working? Are they working? I hear them going all over the state, so I hope
Maybe
it's
some
there.
question of they're gaining any traction.
They're not gaining.
For
I don't know.
for athletics, open enrollment, or
The state is looking again at just enrollment numbers instead of ADA.
the theory behind that, the people in practice recommend that that's the best way to do it.
They've
Those
been happy meetings.
but the funding, unless the legislature is willing to invest more in education to actually account for that, it will never happen. Because there's a cost to it. So,
I'm sorry, Shane, I'm still slightly confused. I know it's not this hard. I get in the weeds sometimes, but So you're saying the red zone needs to be 7 because we're not funded
No, that,
on day 8?
when
of
we,
an
when
absence?
you look at our,
We're funded, but the students lose credit. Like they shouldn't even credit for that course.
Can you go back to that infographic? Cause I guess I'm not understanding what that has to do with them making up seat time. I guess,
They're-
if I'm looking at.
they're separated.
For their learning.
they're separated.
Okay,
So basically what,
so when they get to the red zone, they will, credit and eligibility are at risk, we are telling them that, right? So if they,
decide,
I think we should change it, are at risk. If you get to there, you're just ineligible.
if you wanted to have a, like this green zone be 0 to 3 absences.
Yeah.
And the yellow zone be 4 to 6. I'm okay with that,
I would just put 4.
but I'm actually okay to say 4 to 6 if that 7 is the line. You're,
I'm confused with why the line on red has to be 7 instead of 8, I know it's one day. But what I'm trying to understand is we've been working on a way where they haven't lost credit if they've done the detention, correct? Isn't that the way we've
Right.
been working?
Yeah.
And so this is the same, it's just brought the days to 8. So help me
but
understand.
you don't have to, like, even with us, like, if a kid doesn't finish their detention, we've done a loss of credit.
Mhm.
And it's to help avoid having 100 hours of
exactly.
detention.
Well, and I know that 8 translates better because that's 2 weeks. But we're a 4-day school week, and so they're here for more hours during those 4 days. So that's, I mean, they're coming to school 72 days during a semester. And on 5-day school weeks, it's like 88 or 90. And so they're missing more content in a fewer number of days.
I guess my point is that as a parent, I don't know that minutia. And so what will be easier for the parents and the students to understand? 7 or 8? And so you're saying that 7 because they lose credit. So you're
Well,
trying to
it's
move.
like
The reason why,
$7
the reason why I think it needs to be 7 is because if we take, what is 90% of 71? 71, why am I saying 71? Because that is the number of days in the first semester. So if there's 71 days in the first semester,
You can miss 7.1 days.
7.1 days is what state law requires you to
And
do.
one thing you're overlooking again with the paperwork is we also have quarter classes, so 3 absences in those would be loss of credit.
Yeah.
Mhm. But you're also looking at, okay, in a quarter class, I have 35 days.
Yeah.
If I was,
That's 3.5 days.
if I'm missing more, if I'm missing more than that, like,
I think if you put it at 8, you're telling the parents, you could miss 2 full weeks of school. You put it at 7, that's not 2 full weeks. It makes it more, to me, it makes it more clear that, no, you can't miss 2 weeks of school and still be okay.
and if you do miss it, then you set up an attendance plan sheet, you make up your seat work, you meet with the administrator, and you come to the school board. And then if you complete all of those, you still get credit.
So we're moving the days in the zones based on the 90%.
Yes.
That the state is saying they lose credit at.
Yes.
Yep. I think this, like, we're tightening, I don't wanna say tight, we're drawing
They're like,
a clear line, saying this is where it's at, with a clear line of this is what you have to do to make it up. We don't have to do this part to make it up. We could just say, once you hit that, you miss credit regardless. So sad. And so. But did that help clarify, Dawn, that why
Yes.
I wanted to go from 8 to 7?
It does, because I was seeing it as it didn't
matter because they would be making it up anyway, making up the credit anyway, but I see now that, because it, thank you.
Yeah, but Christy is right. With this one here, we don't get funding back.
And notice it says present your attendance plan to the board. It doesn't say that you're gonna be okay after that. You still will get to make that decision.
Well, so is
You might
that,
say, I see that, cause one of the things on the sheet, and I found out I didn't bring it, says, why did you miss? Maybe it was cause you were really sick, like maybe you had. Like,
Without a doctor's note.
yeah, like something.
So
I was sick for a month and I didn't get a doctor's note. Well, I actually did the telehealth, but I didn't miss for a month, but that's what we're seeing though, kids do is they just don't come. And to me, I'm not worried about the 90% of the funding. I should be, because that is a concern. I'm worried about kids showing up for their life. Like this is an age where you need to start showing up. It's important to be where you're supposed to be. Cause you're gonna hold a job and you're gonna, like, how are you gonna succeed in college? Like Tyson, I'm sure all of you have probably gone to somewhere where you didn't feel really good, or you stayed out late the night before and you don't get to sleep in the next day. And I know that parents aren't all at fault. I had a teenager that really struggled with mornings. He still does. It's continued to reflect. And I remember Miss Bird coming down and saying, why is your, and I said, Cheryl, enact the consequences because I can't get him here. She's like, take his car away. I said, if I do and bring him out, I'm going to be late and I have a job. I can't do that. And it didn't work. And so he had to come do Saturday school. And so whatever consequences are there, maybe they need to lose credit to realize, okay, I've got to take this serious and I'm going to have to redo the class. I don't know what that looks like yet. If a kid loses credit with a month left of school, what do we do with that kid? Do we allow them to make it up online real quick, or do we say, no, you're gonna retake that again? So there's still some things that, there's always ripples when you create a new thing of like, what's that gonna look like? Because I do think it's not just they're gonna come and waste your time and then you're gonna say, okay, go back now and miss some more. I think you're gonna have to make some hard decisions of, we're gonna say no based on what we see on this plan, because one of the parts says, why did you miss? Like, what were you missing for? And if it's just, I couldn't get out of bed, maybe you'll say at the 8, I'm gonna give you a chance, and then after that, you tell them no the next time it happens. Like, I don't know.
So should number 4 on the red say for approval?
Do we want to
Are they,
approve?
that's my question. Are they approving it or are they just reviewing it?
And do you guys want to be included in that, or
Well,
do you want to pull
ultimately-
yourselves out of that? I guess this would be the time to.
I had a question about that because eventually, I mean, if it just keeps happening, isn't the board the one that they come for to say, I still want to graduate?
I pulled
Right,
credit
so-
when a kid didn't finish detention and you didn't get those, so I don't know. I guess you can have. some-
And I guess that this would be one, because I go back and forth because Christy, you mentioned yesterday when we were talking, you're like, are you sure your board wants this?
Yeah,
It could be a lot. We could pull that out and only use it for, put on there to say if you, I don't know.
I could send the papers over even without pulling the kid. I just hate pulling a kid out of class. Like maybe you get their plan and you get a chance to look at it at your meetings. I
One,
don't know.
They
one,
can come during their lunch period.
I could just notify the board when we have kids on attendance plans. Like that's something that Chris, you would just report to me, I report to them. And I wonder if only the board is only used for appeal. There's part of me that I wanted to make it like real to the students, that it's not just Mrs. Scott, because that's I'm
Because it takes us out of being able to be the appeal, does it?
So what if they have to present it to the superintendent?
There's a fear factor in any of those.
Yeah.
that's the thing is,
Because then the superintendent has the ability to determine if it should go to the board.
because there's a little bit of momentum in society where authority figures aren't viewed with the same level of respect that maybe they did in years past. There's you probably have heard that about me, about Christy. Different times it's just Christy. How many people just call me just Shane? You know, no one calls me Superintendent Williams. Not that I'm asking for it. Even if I had a doctorate, I would never ask people to call me that. But there's a little bit of like less respect if something came. I was just hoping to like put something into place, say, oh, I've got to go to the school board. That, yes, it takes up our time more, but it also takes up their time. So I don't know if that's the right thing to put.
Maybe it's at 8, but not,
Are we going back to 8 or?
not at 7.
Good idea.
Come back.
Is
It
it,
is you, the board reviews it at 7, but then if it continues, then the board can then choose to take action.
is this something that has to be decided in this meeting, or can it be discussed further?
Oh,
at a
discussed.
We
later
can
date?
do it in our next,
I would move that we,
once we
Yeah.
have time to
Yes,
think
to the-
about it.
that way we can have some more discussion.
And I'll share the handbook today, and if you go down underneath, it's explained a little bit more. Not much, but a little bit more in writing as well, and
Yeah.
that. But that'll have to change with some of the stuff you've already shown.
I think it's been helpful. This was a good 25 minutes of discussion on this, but I think it's a big thing. Like we can't.
It's a big shift that needs to have some proper thought given to it so that, because you're impacting a whole new school year. So you need to have decisions that can be followed through on.
Mhm. Okay. All right, back to the superintendent report. Thank you, Christy. So speaking of the whole new school year, back to school, did I attach the calendar? Right,
They want to.
Not I can mention.
I have it saved on the,
No, but I'll attach it.
I have that saved in, admin.
Yeah.
Admin folder,
I'll post it.
on that one there.
It's in the handbook.
Yes, it is. So registration, August 10th, 11th, and 12th, times will be to be determined. We'll get that out. Just again, highlight the first day of school for high school is Thursday, August 20th. And they will go that Friday, the 21st. First day for K through 8 will be Monday, the 24th, and the first day for preschool is the 31st. Hamer Elementary is starting at 8:30 instead of 7:45. That is a change for this upcoming year. And the district welcome back staff meeting will be Tuesday, August 18th. I guess you guys can draw the short straw to see who gets to talk at the back to school meeting at that time. So why is it so silent right now?
Everybody's looking down.
Everybody's looking down on this one. So that was just a highlight with the calendar on that. So I don't see Mr. Miller in here right now. Okay, so let me look. We doing a maintenance update. No, let's jump into this other one. Fiscal responsibility. So supplemental levy.
Do that, I'm gonna see if Stefan,
Do
the maintenance update.
you want to see if he's, yeah.
I'm gonna see if he's available.
Okay, this one could take a while too. So I did attach for part of a discussion with the supplemental levy renewal. Our current supplemental levy is $360,000 per year, and the history of the supplemental levy in West Jefferson. So the West Jefferson School District ran its first supplemental levy in 2012, following a community recommendation prompted by veteran teachers leaving the district. The supplemental levy allows West Jefferson to be competitive for teacher salaries and benefits. But it's not just the teachers that helps. It also covers operational funding shortfalls for classified employees' salaries and benefits. These positions include instructional paraprofessionals, clerical staff, maintenance staff, and custodial staff. And that's an important thing to remember when looking at the supplemental levy. This is the history of the supplemental levy and the percent in favor for a supplemental levy. I don't know why I have the hashtag right there. That was a typo on on that. This is the percent in favor. A 50 plus 1%, so 51% would pass a supplemental levy that we have. Just different questions that people ask, like what is a supplemental levy, a plant or supplemental? Just revenue that goes towards expenditures. It's allowed under Idaho code. Currently, most school districts in Idaho levy revenue for operating expenses, facilities, salaries, or benefits. How will the district use the proposed levy funds? As we're talking about the supplemental levy, the supplemental levy will allow West Jefferson to continue offering competitive salaries to attract and retain teachers and to offset increased health insurance costs. This one I need to probably add right there also, that it's also paraprofessionals, clerical staff, maintenance staff, and custodial staff would be added to that. And then it's a 50 plus 1 for it. With our history, in 2021 and 23, we ran that in March and had a higher percentage. This last time that we ran it was in November, and that is because the legislature removed the March and August elections, and so those no longer exist. And so going back to the superintendent report. So some of the questions that have come through patron comments and just different things that come up that might be asked, does the district need a supplemental levy? Isn't state sufficient? Is state funding sufficient? And that's a question that does need to be answered. And I guess districts, they look at different things depending on where they're located and the different things that they have in their district. So it's important to remember that in 2007, funding changed. Prior to 2007, districts received an automatic property tax amount to the districts that flowed directly to them. And so that mechanism came is that the state took all the property taxes and they put in it, and then they divvied it out to the districts automatically. And then in 2007, Lieutenant Governor Risch, who took over for Kempthorne after Kempthorne was assigned to a post with the Bush administration, called in August a special meeting and in special session, and in 3 days changed that formula to go towards funding education through sales tax. And so it was a win for property tax owners to not have that automatically fund into the state funding. But what that did for districts is they were going to be funded through sales tax. The very next year, sales tax revenue dropped by 50 million. And the following year after that was the Great Recession. So schools automatically, or traditionally 2007, had money that automatically flowed into it. Now the money doesn't automatically flow to education. It took out the funding mechanism of property tax at the state level and went to sales tax, and then it goes into the big general fund at the state. Once it reaches there, it doesn't automatically flow to schools. The JFACs, the different groups at the legislation then look at those monies and they decide how much flows to schools. And little by little over the years, that amount has been lessened and lessened. Does that make sense? So when you're looking at the history of why didn't West Jefferson have this before, it's because they were receiving it before. And when you look at the funding from 2007 until 2012 in West Jefferson, our general fund carryover went lower and lower and lower and lower until that happened. So other things, when you are asking the question, is state funding sufficient? Well, this next year, admin, classified, and veteran teacher salaries are frozen for 2026 and 27. Also, insurance amounts were cut for schools not on the state insurance plan. So we are receiving less operational funding this year than we did last year. other things that we would put on here is state funding sufficient? The classified formula for that funds our classified staff. Again, who are these classified staff? Those classified staff are your clerical, your maintenance, your custodians, and certain instructional paraprofessionals, not all of them, but some of them. Those are all funded from a formula that was established in 1994. In 1994, schools looked different. You didn't have to have as much staff in that because there were fewer requirements. Though that's why a lot of the conversations about the funding formula are in place right now, because we're talking about a formula from 1994. So I guess with this one, does the district need a supplemental levy? As superintendent, I would say yes. And the reason why is because state funding is not sufficient. And we have data to show that. So a question that came up through the comment is through patron comment is the district living outside its means by relying on the supplemental levy? I think that's a fair question, because we don't want to live outside our means, but I think it's really clear that initially we're not funded enough to even support regular means. So the district does not hire extra teachers with its supplemental levy, which is really, really important, because since I've been superintendent, this is not anything that I'm proud of, but I've had to make hard decisions since I've been superintendent. My first year as superintendent, we reduced teaching staff by 3 people. That is because we were trying to live within our means. We had a supplemental levy at that time, and we weren't using the supplemental levy to live outside our means. Even this last year, with the projected enrollment counts and everything else, we've had to reduce by 1 more. So the question is like, okay, so this does not, like, the supplemental levy allows us to hire classified staff and benefits. We're not hiring extra teachers with this. So is there a plan in place if the community does not support renewing the supplemental levy? Yes. The plan is in place. The teacher recruitment and retention money would be eliminated for our teachers, which would mean that our most veteran teachers would lose $2,500 immediately, and then probably see a lot of them just leave the district. We have built in there into that salary schedule extra money for them. The thing that would hurt the most if we don't have the supplemental levy is classified benefits and positions would be eliminated and reduced immediately. And when you look at our classified staff, a majority of them are individuals who work and live within West Jefferson School District. And so I am very sensitive to this, because I don't want to be specific, like, hey, yeah, this tax money is not mine. We take this very, very seriously, how this money is spent. It's not my money. I am hired to manage it the best that we can. And I recognize that it is a lot for landowners and property owners. They pay a larger proportion of it. But I do have to say that if it went away, our school would look way different. Our custodial staff would look way different in the amount of hours and amount of people that work here. And our maintenance staff would be cut. Our clerical staff would be cut. And those responsibilities don't go away. I would say that where we are at currently with our custodial staff and our maintenance staff, those are things that were in place before I was even superintendent here. Those were recommendations that came in place with previous administration. And I think it was wise for them to have that, because you get what you invest in, and our district, our patrons have invested in our schools, and our schools reflect that. They're in good shape. And if those things go away, then little by little, it's gonna be more expensive in the future, asking for new buildings. It's just one of those things that keep going. So one of the questions that came out from the patron comments was, why did salaries for teachers and classified staff increase such by a large percentage from 2022 to 24? And because that increased, shouldn't we have taken that increase and weaned ourselves off of the supplemental levy, was the question that was in place. So salaries increased, but operational funding did not for the things. The money has flowed different ways and we have received funding, but everything is earmarked in a certain way. So when those salaries came in, they were earmarked for teacher salaries. There was in 2022, the legislature passed, I think it was 2022, I might be wrong on my year,
22 or 23.
but I just put that time frame, and I'm speaking in generalizations right now. But the $6,000 to
$6,359.
the $6,359 was written into statute that was then sent to schools. It was the intent of the legislature that got passed on to the teachers.
We had to do reports.
And we do
stating
reports
that we have passed it
on that. Now, there were some districts that took that and didn't pass on the full amount, because I'm going to go back to the funding formula. I don't want to lose you on the weeds. But because they didn't give us that money based on employees, they gave it based off of support units. Again, going back to with the support units on that. So it's not accurate for someone to come in and say, you should have taken that money, paid people less, and then weaned yourself off the supplemental levy, because if we would have reported back to the legislature, we took that money and we want to not have a supplemental levy, we would have been in trouble with the legislature for not passing that on to the teachers. The legislature also increased the amount for classified staff, but that intention was to increase salaries to help address inflation costs. And also that if we have positions in the district, we don't want people taking jobs at McDonald's over working at schools, which happens a lot because you can get paid more at fast food than you can at schools. And so that was pushed directly to them. We were in a situation that the supplemental levy isn't adding extra money. It's just allowing us to have the benefits and amount of people that we need to run our operation. And so those were the responses that I have with that. As for the school board to know oops, sorry, Christy, I just pulled back that other one. In the past, this is information from 2 years ago on the total amount, total per $100,000 that taxpayers have. When you look at 2016, I wasn't superintendent here until the 1920 school year. But the total per 100,000 was almost $400 per 100,000. This last year, again, because of different things with House Bill 292 and the offset, our taxpayers are seeing almost half that amount when we're coming and asking for our taxpayers. I'm really careful about what I'm asking for. I want it to be for a specific thing on that. And so in this next month, we will be discussing more about the supplemental levy. I am going to be, as superintendent, proposing to the board that we renew in November. I have these reasons why. I understand that philosophically, there may be individuals who feel differently, and that's okay. When we look at the numbers, there's always people that are going to agree or disagree with it. We're going to do the best we can if the community is happy with where the direction our schools are going and what we can continue to offer for them. We're going to do the best with it. If the community chooses to not support this, then very difficult cuts will be made in the district. And that's not a threat, that's just the plan. Because the plan is we have to live within what budgets we have. And so, do you guys have any questions or comments on that? Okay. And our last part on the update is for our maintenance and projects. Mr. Miller, do you have a update for the board?
Yeah, so I met with Headwaters last Thursday. We were waiting on permit reviews from the state, and once those come through, then they can actually take that approved review and go to the county to get our building permits that we need. We were kind of making a contingency plan last Thursday because we're getting to the point where we have to have those permits to continue. They've got to where they've done all the work they can. They can't start covering anything. We received one yesterday, which was a huge deal. So they are moving forward with that for the high school. We still have about a week left of work in the elementary before we're gonna be put on standstill, waiting for that permit review. So hopefully that comes in very soon. Cause even after that, all the contractors have to go get their permits from the county, which if they get rushed through, a week maybe is what they're hoping. So everything's still going good. The actual final cleaning is scheduled in the high school for the 19th and 20th of August, and that's when we're starting school. So without any hiccups, everything is still going on track. The contingency would be an outside restroom trailer for the first week or two of school if required. Depending on the state's timeline, it's supposed to be a 10-day review. The first one was submitted April 30th, the second one was June 10th, and we're still not. We just got one back yesterday off of the 10-day review. So that's where we're at, but everything's moving along still. Everything's looking really good. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to walk through and look at anything, but it's pretty cool to see the progress. Everything looks really nice that they have been able to complete, so.
Yeah, once it's gonna be put back together, it's gonna be really, really nice.
Yeah.
Other updates on like remodel stuff in classrooms, anything that we got going on?
So we got the 2 classrooms in the high school that we were working on. They're all painted and lights replaced. Everything's finished except for the floor. So I'm gonna do an epoxy floor in those, in 3 of the classrooms over there and 1 in the junior high. It was supposed to be delivered Monday, now it's saying Friday, so we're waiting on that. And then I got LVP plank flooring for 2 of the classrooms in the 38 building that's supposed to be here Thursday. So then we can start getting the flooring done. We're remodeling both classrooms in 38. Right now, one's already done painting. We're finishing the painting on the other one. Flooring gets here, we'll install it. They'll both be ready to go.
Don't those have a wood floor in 38?
They do. In the music room that was up there, they were able to refinish the wood floor. When we took the carpet out of these ones, there was about a 1/4 inch of glue all over everything. So if in the future we want to do that, we can, but with our timeline this year, we're putting vinyl foot flooring over it just to cover it. And it actually has a 20-year warranty on it. So in the future, if we decide to, then we can get in there and stand them. It was a whole lot to get through, because that was our initial goal, was to just go in there and sand them and refinish them and have nice wood floors. Then when we pulled the carpet out, it was a mess, so we're putting the vinyl floor over it for now. And my hope with the epoxy is it lasts well. Kind of like we did in here. It's not gonna be the flake, it's just gonna be the color. They don't want the flake for mopping and cleaning and all that in the classroom, so it's just gonna be colored epoxy, and we'll end up doing Mrs. Torgerson's room, Mrs. Bell's room, both of Mr. Piper's rooms. This has a joint, and then Braxton's room in the junior high with that. We'll get going, and hopefully more in the future. last.
Something that you guys are doing as a,
Yeah.
yourselves, so you'll see.
Yeah, I got a quote on it just because I was curious, and to do those rooms was $23,000, and I was able to order the product for what it was, 5,000. And then we'll do it ourselves.
The epoxy.
Yeah.
So save at least 15,000-ish,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's our goal right now.
Perfect. Any questions for Mr. Miller? No? Okay. All right, Madam Vice Chair, that's all I had for superintendent report.
Okay. Move down to our calendar. Special work meeting. It was discussed that we would do that on Wednesday, July 29th. Does that day work for everyone?
Just so you know, the epoxy was only 2,300.
Forgot I ordered enough to get a discount, sorry. Fingers.
July 29th.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday. Do you have a time on that, Mrs. DeGraw?
Whatever time works for you guys, probably
9 or
9
10.
or 10,
Does that day work for everyone?
unless later in the day works better for you, Tyson, because it'll get too hot.
That'll be fun.
9 o'clock? Is that good for everyone that day? Okay. It's Wednesday, July 29th at 9. Our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, August 12th. Same time as today's,
Yeah.
That will be at 11:30.
11:30. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have back to school meetings Tuesday, August 18th. What time did you want everyone here?
10 o'clock is when our meeting with you guys will start. And then we'll have lunch.
Was there anything else?
You said 11 or
10
10
o'clock
10 o'clock
on the 18th.
Yes.
That it?
Mhm.
Okay. The floor is open for motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do a roll call vote. Mr. Cottle,
Aye.
Mrs. Cherry.
Aye.
Mr. Burtonshaw,
Aye.
Mrs. Belknap.
Aye.
Our meeting is adjourned.